Hey everybody, welcome to Rockin' the Valley's Cyber Speakeasy, your source for music, conversation, and cocktails. Now part of Stories and Song with Mike and Tom here on Rockin' the Valley. My name is Mike, I am Not For Coltrane. Thank you so much for joining us on this. I don't even know how to describe this evening because there's all sorts of stuff going on, but I'm very, very excited to have with me a wonderful guest, the wonderful Kim Edwards. Hi Kim, how are you holding up?
Hey, Mike, I'm good. How are you doing?
you know, this is everything about tonight's show has been well good, but also sort of little little bits and challenges.
Yeah.
Because now that I'm doing one new show a month, I forget everything that I learned previously when I'm about to start the new show. And
That happened.
second of all, we plan to have a another guest with us this evening, the wonderful
Mhm.
Art Charlton from the Big Easy Easton Brass and many other things. If I understand correctly, Art is at this moment checking himself in at urgent care because he had some bad shrimp or something. But in any case, Art, we hope that you are you're on the mend and feeling better real soon. And we're sorry you couldn't be with us here this evening, but we're very glad that Kim Edwards is here.
Oh, thank you for
Of
having
course,
me.
of course.
Yeah.
So we always start off by talking about what it is we're drinking. So when I understand you have, yeah, we started
I
talking about
have
this a little bit. But tell me.
sure. My beverage of choice tonight is hot tea, decaf. Because I'm old and if I drink decaf tea at 7 o'clock at night, I will, or caffeinated tea at 7 o'clock, I will not be asleep. So I like a little sugar and a
Mm-hmm.
little milk in my tea.
Nice.
So that's my go-to.
How do you feel
Yeah.
about honey versus sugar?
Um, no, not for me. But
No,
I'm a very
interesting.
specific kind of tea drinker. I've tried it before, milk and
Uh-huh.
honey, and it's not bad. Um, but I don't know. I'm not a big fruit tea person. I'm
Okay.
more of a black tea, Earl Grey, breakfast. So that's my preference.
All
But
right.
what are you drinking?
So I have here, and actually, I'm not sure that it's even really that visible on the. Just
Mhm.
actually doesn't look very good on camera at all. But the it is in fact hot chocolate. Well, first off, this would ordinarily I'd be trying to find sort of like cool, refreshing, summery drinks, at this point in the
Yeah.
spring. Um, but uh, but yeah, the way the temperatures have been recently, it's like wow,
Yeah,
it's really quite cold outside. So I
it
tried
is.
to jazz up the hot chocolate a little bit. So it seems like before every webcast, I'm muddling something which is going to go into the drink. So this evening it was raspberries and blackberries. I was muddling and then mixed in with the hot cocoa and had a nice mound of whipped cream on top. And now it just looks kind of sad actually. So you can you can
I
just barely see that. Okay, you can see there's some
raspberry, I see it.
raspberry in there. Yeah. In any case, not
Wow.
not bad, but I think we can improve on this for next
I've
time.
I've never thought about putting fruit in with hot chocolate in whipped cream. So
You
that
haven't had
is
to come up with new new drinks every month for your.
that's true. That's true. I guess I would probably get a little creative that way too.
Yeah, we've got to what's something and I am proud of some of the things we've had in the past. I should we figure out other things to drink on the show because I often end up going back to various kinds of teas. Um, and it's the thing you and I were talking about before the show too is that I don't drink alcohol at all, and so
Yeah.
you don't drink alcohol a whole lot from what you were saying.
Mm.
And so yeah, so for me every time trying to come up with some kind of interesting drink or something that's a little bit different.
For
Some of
sure.
the ones that are more out there. One time, how do you feel about A Treat soda?
I like A Treat. I mean, that's
Yeah,
a
right.
local company, right? Like that's
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Represent the
definitely.
represent the local brand there. So
Yeah, the
they
cream
have
soda.
a. I'm sorry.
The cream soda, A Treat cream soda.
That's true. A
It's a
Treat cream soda is
classic.
very good. That's what I should have next month. You're absolutely right. That's what I should have
There you
next
go.
month. What I have had in the past, because I thought it would look interesting, was they have I believe it's called Big Blue, which is
Oh,
very
yeah.
blue. It really is
Yes.
very, very blue, and I should have coordinated that blue with my outfit for that evening, but I didn't think that far in advance. There was another time I had Capri Sun. I had a little, Capri Sun on the webcast. So it's like, all
I
right, so
mean, a
what's
good Capri Sun, it's hard to beat. I mean,
right?
that was like snack drink of choice when I was little. It's
There you
like,
go.
yeah, yeah, the definitely. You were like the cool kids club if you if you brought Capri
Right?
Sun to
Oh, and
your
they
lunch.
also, I'm not sure how close we are in age, but there were various like plastic squeezable things
Oh
that
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
that beverages also came in, which was also, putting those in kids' hands was also more than a little dangerous.
Yeah, it's a little risky. It's like Capri Sun, you had to just do that right,
Right?
or half your drink
Right?
is gone. It's just gone. Just
Yes.
one
And
squeeze and
and getting the straw in without everything going everywhere. Yes. So it's
yep.
definitely
That's,
things that the kids figure out.
it's a lot of faith to put into small children with
Yeah.
who are developing fine motor skills.
Yes. Yeah.
Somebody was like, "Yeah, that'll work. That's fine."
That's fine. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So we should
All
probably
right.
talk about some music related things. We talked about drinks, which is wonderful. We
Yes.
should also talk about some music. And I'm pretty sure the first time I encountered you was at Godfrey Daniels,
Yeah.
at either one of the open mics or one of our mutual friends at the time. You were performing with him or something like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
So yes, so for folks who may not be as familiar with your music and your story, tell to everybody about what your musical background is and how long you've been doing stuff here in the valley.
Sure. Well, my musical background is I started playing piano when I was 4 years old, and
Wow.
did not love it. To be honest with you, I liked it, but I didn't like practicing.
Uh-huh.
And my parents let me quit for I think a year, and then I came back to it because I really missed it. And then soon after that, I was like, nope, I don't want to do this. And they're like, too bad, too bad. You're in it. You're
You
doing
gave it a
this
second
now.
try. You really
Yeah.
you really gave it a chance.
You are committing. And so I took piano lessons all through high school. Ended up really falling in love. Like, once you hit that
Mm,
stride where it's like, oh, I can read music, I have enough knowledge where I can actually play songs that I
right.
really like, then it got really fun. So I
Yeah.
studied a little bit of it in college. I thought that I wanted to be a film composer for a while. Um, and be John Williams or Alan Menken or
Sure.
whoever.
Sure.
And somewhere along the line, that kind of just morphed into songwriting. So I've been writing songs since I was a teen, and released an album, my first album in 2012,
Okay.
and kind of had some subsequent releases like an EP here and a couple singles there. And yeah, and as far as playing in the Valley, you probably saw me with John Hufford. I was
Mm-hmm.
playing a lot of shows with him back in the day, and then also coming to the open mic at Godfrey Daniels, which was really fun. I miss that.
Yeah.
And
Open mics. Back we could actually be in a small room together
I
and
know
sing. Right.
exactly. It seems like so foreign
It
now,
it
but
really
I'm
is.
I'm hoping that it comes back.
Yes.
I'm sure enough people in the valley would love to,
Yes. I think
in
that is
some form or
100% accurate.
fashion. Yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of my story.
Good deal.
Uh, the last year has been a little crazy for
Yeah.
everybody. I feel like that's the phrase everybody says. It's been so crazy because it has.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Pretty much.
and trying to release music in the midst of a pandemic and doing a lot of things remote. I've been working on demos for an album for like the last
Oh,
two
okay.
years. It feels like.
Uh-huh.
So we'll see. When things start evening out in a couple different areas, and hopefully, but at the same time, you just kind of take a day at a time and
Sure.
live
Sure.
life.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of releasing music, I think it was about 6 months ago or so that you had a new single that came out, right?
Yeah. I did. Yeah, it's called Far,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty proud of that one. It was a song that I'd started a while back, and I had a very specific vision for it. So sort of a 80s vibe, which I know is everywhere, and probably completely overdone. But I've also hit this point in my own music and my own career where I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't care. I'll do what I want.
Right?
And and I'm just like, this is what I'm gonna release, and hope you
Yeah.
like it.
No, I think what really holds true, and certainly what I try to keep in my space, and it sounds like it's something very similar for you, is wherever the inspiration is leading you, that's where you go, right? You
Absolutely,
know,
absolutely.
and whether that happens to be cool or popular or not, it's just like, well, but this is where I feel pulled as an artist right now, and that's what
Yeah.
speaks to me right now, and that enthusiasm that comes from your being excited about it. I mean, that's what's going
Hmm.
to sell it. I mean, was that similar to your experience?
For sure. Yeah, it was definitely a celebration for me to just really dive in and do the kind of song that I wanted to. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever do another song quite like that again. It's just a lot of experimenting. And even if you listen to Wanderlust, that album versus the last couple things,
Sure, sure.
everything is so different. But
Yeah.
but I figured, those are my favorite types of artists are
Mm-hmm.
ones that have kind of done whatever they've wanted. Like Regina
Yeah.
Spektor I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big fan, and sometimes her songs are super weird, but they're super quirky. But people love them, and she has her own audience and her own
Mm-hmm.
group that just loves what she puts out. And she's always stayed very true to herself, I think. So I was like, well, and I mean, I could even point out like Queen, for example.
Right. Oh
How
yeah.
what a diverse catalog they have
Yes.
of
Yeah, like
songs.
we're interested in classical music right now. All right, so that's what we're gonna
Yeah,
create. This
yeah,
what multiple movements and no chorus and nothing that does.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think there's something really fun and satisfying
Right.
as an artist to
Yeah.
just embrace whatever it is that you want to do and like go for it. So
Makes
that's kind of
sense.
where I've been for the last couple of years.
That's wonderful. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would love to hear the song that you released, if that's one of the ones that you were thinking of doing this evening.
I was not thinking about doing that
Oh,
one. Sorry, sorry. I only say that because tonight I'm only armed with a ukulele.
okay.
And
So then, well, what? It's your choice then. You're the guest. What would you
okay.
like to play?
Let's see. I'll play a song off of my Lovers and Loners EP. I have not played this one in a long time, and but it's I don't know. It's a personal fave. I feel like nobody ever hears this song, but I like it.
That is
This one's
more than enough reason for you to play it for us right now.
this is called Stay. I'm not much for words. I get tangled up in the thoughts and the verbs. So this would be a first, be a first. We could dance around the room, around the elephant called me and you, but it won't make it any easier, easier. So I guess I'll be the first to say I want you to stay, stay, stay. See, I'm not usually like this. No, I don't break the ice. I don't go out on limbs. But something tells me that you are worth the risk. So what can I do to convey how I want you to stay, stay, stay. I wish you would
That's really, really nice.
Oh, thanks.
That is really,
Mike.
really nice. Well, and a couple things leapt out at me about the performance. One of them is that sort of so I'm thinking, like songwriter and musician-y things, and I know some of the people who are watching are also sort of along those lines. And a lot of people who maybe don't have that experience are intrigued by like, oh, how all the pieces of it work. Dynamics are how loud or how soft something is, and as a guitar player, especially acoustic guitar player, that's one of the main tools you have. It's really hard to do that on a ukulele,
Oh
to
yeah.
have that dynamic range, and you did. You could see that was something that you really did to sort of emphasize, to punch it there at the end of the song. Where did that idea come from, or is that just something that naturally just happened or occurred to you?
Well, I think what helps with it too is this is a tenor ukulele, so it's not
Mm.
your normal soprano.
Uh-huh.
There's a little longer. I always joke and say, it's not a miniature guitar that fits to my body. This is, this is an actual ukulele. I know it looks like it's proportioned to that, but
Uh-huh.
no, it's a ukulele. But I used to listen to a lot of Ingrid Michaelson, as did every girl, back in the day,
Uh-huh.
listening to all her ukulele songs. But yeah, I got this, and I think just having like a wider, like a little longer neck and a
Mm-hmm.
wider range from the concert rather than
Yeah,
just the soprano, it
that makes
really
sense.
allows you to, have a lot more to work with.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
yeah,
Well,
trying
and
to
so was that what inspired you to pick up the uke in the first place?
Yeah, you listening to a lot of Ingrid, and I was living out in California at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in California now, although I know
when,
I know that right now it looks like I am. But
when I have it up when you were performing, the headstock of your uke was periodically dipping into the bay and then coming back
dipping
out.
into the
So
bay.
so
Nice.
we're gonna get back to that in just a minute, but I want to take away from your explanation about the uke first.
Oh yeah, no. I was living out near San Diego, and there's this beautiful Carlsbad Beach area, and there
Mm.
is a ukulele shop,
Oh
probably a
wow.
couple blocks from the beach. So I always used to walk down that way.
Oh
I did a
wow.
lot of uh, what do you call it? Open mics
Mm-hmm.
in Encinitas, which is really
Mm-hmm.
near there. And so to play, I didn't have any instruments with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I would get a ukulele from an actual ukulele shop.
Ukulele shop. Yeah.
And yeah, this has been my faithful friend for probably going on 10 years ish. That's
Very
crazy to think
nice.
about.
Yeah, right. Well, that's very cool. I mean, and I know for me when I got into to playing uke, it was so much about like, oh, I have these skills on guitar, and wow, they transfer, and
Right.
that's really really cool. I mean, do you have a guitar? Because you talked about getting started with piano from a really young age.
Yeah.
Do you also do any guitar or no?
I do play a little guitar, enough to,
Literally.
yeah, quite literally. But I understand, like, I know, like, it's trippy. You kind of have to think differently because this is a D shape
Hmm.
on a guitar, but you're playing a G on a
Right.
ukulele, and but I think it helps. I think it definitely helps. But I love playing guitar too. Can't say that I'm super good at it, but
Hmm.
I've been trying to play more electric lately, so we'll
Ooh.
see.
Now
Maybe.
that's another area where I'm trying to learn, um,
Ah,
and just sort of how it because unlike a uke, right? The electric guitar, the tuning is essentially the same as it would be on an acoustic guitar. it seems like everything should just sort of transfer right over from one to the other. But there's a lot that's different, and it's not just like, okay, I'm going to plug it in and now there's distortion everywhere. Yes,
Right.
there is that, but then there's also all of these other aspects. So what have been the things that have been striking you about this process of essentially learning an entirely new instrument?
Well, I like learning the electric guitar because it's smaller for my hands. Everything is
Uh-huh.
kind of we've been talking about in relation to like size and things, but
Right, that makes sense.
it's the neck is a little smaller for me on
Mm-hmm.
an electric,
Right, right.
and I mean I can I can strum on an acoustic fine. I think sometimes like less can be more, at least for the
Mm-hmm.
style of songs that I've been doing on
Mm-hmm.
electric.
Sure.
So a lot more picking, but I'm still very early on dipping my toes into the water and with pedals, and that's a
Right?
whole other thing. There's like a whole other
Exactly.
soundscape that you work with, like
There really
distortion,
is.
reverb. It's cool. It's fun.
It is. It is. And
Yeah.
and that's the other key thing is that, when you're an acoustic guitar player, okay, you're focused on the sound of it, and that comes into the selection of the guitar, and to some degree in the selection of the strings and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And then that's set. Whereas
Yeah.
with electric guitar, for especially for someone like the Edge, like 60% of your sound is, how you're going to hook up the various amps and your
Right.
pedals and all the different things to get
Right.
exactly the sound that you want. And I am,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just at the very beginning of like figuring out where I even want to go with that. So yeah, and in terms of, well, here's an interesting idea. In terms of electric guitar sound, as you're developing your own sound, do you find yourself gravitating toward like, oh, that player, that person's sound? I mean, like obviously I mentioned just the Edge.
Right.
May or may not be one point of inspiration for you. What are some of the players and bands and styles of music that you're listening to that sort of are informing your decisions there?
Oh man. Well, I listen to a lot of things that I can't necessarily play yet.
Oh,
Um,
sure, that's fine.
I mean, I really love Vampire Weekend. That they're one
Okay.
of my favorite bands.
Mm-hmm.
They had a song called Sunflower. That is a crazy melody on electric guitar. But I
Mm.
actually started picking it up a little bit last year and trying to play it. And so just reading the different charts and
Mm. Right.
starting very slowly and like I do with piano, you start
Right.
slowly, then you bump up the metronome, and I still
Yes.
can get nowhere near as quick as they are. But I really like Vampire Weekend. I mean, I have pretty diverse taste
Mm-hmm.
for stuff that I'm probably playing myself. I think of like Amy Stroop is an indie artist that she utilizes, I think, a lot of electric guitars, but it
Mm-hmm.
tends to be more like a gentler singer
Right.
songwriter kind of vibe.
Right. Right.
So I think because it more fits in with what I'm doing. But I
Yeah.
mean, I love a good Weezer song as much as the next person, so I like it all.
Very cool.
But
Very cool.
speaking of music and
Uh-huh.
instruments, I mean, I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but since we do have some time,
We
extra
do.
time, I would love to hear some of your stuff too, Mike.
Well, let's see. So, what will we do in that regard? Yes, because if we'd had an additional guest, so actually one of the things I was so excited about. So, Art is part of the Big Easy Easton Brass, and
Mm.
I had Jeremy Joseph from the Big Easy Easton Brass as a guest. I don't even know how many months ago it was, but a little while ago, and that was so much fun. We had a chance to talk, and Jeremy plays trumpet, and we talked about the formation of the Big Easy Easton Brass and what they do. And actually, are you familiar with the Big Easy Easton Brass?
I am not,
Okay,
unfortunately.
so in Art's absence, and Jeremy, since Jeremy obviously wasn't going to be here in the first place, I will do my best to explain. It's a band. They play New Orleans second line style music. And the idea of and bringing just people together, and you get out on the street and you play music together. Um, and one of the really cool foundational ideas from the Beeb, as they call themselves, Big Easy Easton Brass, is that for all the performers, for anyone who may have, like you, got started as a playing an instrument in grade school or in high school or whatever, And then, for most of us, that instrument ends up sitting in a closet somewhere, and
Yeah.
that part of our life is done. And Jeremy was describing how after he tried I think he was trying to make it as a full-time professional trumpet player, which is really, really hard, right?
Sure.
You can, in terms of people that we personally know, it's a very small number who are actually able to support themselves doing music as their full-time job. It's really, really difficult to do, even for really talented people.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, Jeremy sort of changed his thinking from, well, that's not a failure that I couldn't do that. I still have these abilities. What can I do with it? And
Mm.
it's just sparked this essentially kind of a movement, even more than a band. So any skill level, any age, any background, you can just show up and you go to the rehearsals, and then you can march down the street, playing "When the Saints Go Marching
Awesome.
In" or Lady Gaga, or the various songs that they've worked out arrangements for. And it's very, very cool. They have like middle school and high school age kids up to
Wow.
retirees, And one of the things that they do, which I was so excited about having Art do with us here this evening, is they do a version of Name That Tune. Their version
Oh.
of Name That Tune is, and it's great because regardless of who you are in the band, you can participate. You come with a song and you play the first note, and Jeremy, as
Okay.
the MC, says, "Okay, so who can guess what song that was?" And
Sure.
obviously, usually you can't figure it out from the first note. Okay, so two notes. You need to figure, and three notes, four notes, and you see how few notes it takes for a member of the audience to be able to figure out what the song is. And I thought it was going to be really, really fun for Art to bring along his trombone and to do that, and the two of us could
Oh,
see if we could figure out what tune he was playing. And
that would have been awesome.
it would have been awesome, right? And so,
Oh,
unfortunately, we were not able to get that to happen today, but we will have to find another time when we can potentially do that. And obviously, everyone
definitely.
should go look for Big Easy Easton Brass on Facebook. Um, yeah. So, but in the meantime, what am I going to do? Well, I also have a ukulele here. Um,
Hey.
I literally, I think tonight when I picked it up was the first time that I've touched it in a couple of months. Let's see. What would I want to do? Um, hmm. All right, give me a direction, Kim. Where should I go with this?
Alright. Can you do a Not For Coltrane song on the
Can I do a
ukulele?
Not For Coltrane song on ukulele? Let me see here.
Or just do your go-to ukulele song.
What's that?
Or just go do your go-to ukulele song. I feel like everybody has like you've got an instrument and there's always one song you have in pocket that you can do.
I often say it's legally required that everyone's like, ooh, ooh. That's just
Alright.
that you have to learn that as soon as you get it. No, actually, several years ago, I have a song called Elizabeth Avenue, and when I wrote it, I'm like, I need to also be able to play this on ukulele. I don't usually play it on uke, but let me see if I can remember the chords. Oh, it would be like. Okay, so that will work. So that's the main riff, and then trying to figure out how to transpose everything on the fly because it's been a little while. No, it would be. All right, I need to know. I'm gonna figure out what chord it is. All right. In the interest of this sounding marginally better, I'm going to play it on guitar because
That's
I think
fun.
I think under those circumstances, and if you really want to hear it again, then I can also then do it on ukulele. So yes. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to put it over just on me, and Oh, that's the chord. That's the chord. Now I can do it on uke, now that I know what the chord is.
Woohoo!
So it's going to be... All right. We'll see how this goes. Elizabeth Avenue. At the corner of Elizabeth and New, Daddy's Pizza Shop with the same old view of the sub shop where the specials never change. Beauty parlor with peeling paint. There are potholes in the patches in the street, and the sidewalk crumbles beneath your feet, and the sycamores that can't fit in their skin. Branches twist and swerve, something's got to give. Rust eats that old faded fluorescent sign. The entranceways have fallen down. Dang it.
I put you on the spot.
I was doing so well.
Great.
How did that go? As gray as the sky. Oh yeah, okay, that's right. I'm just gonna start over because I don't remember where I left off. At the corner of Elizabeth and New, Daddy's Pizza Shop with the same old view of the sub shop where the specials never change, and the beauty parlor with peeling paint. There are potholes in the patches in the street, and the sidewalk crumbles beneath your feet, and the sycamores that can't fit in their skin. Branches twist and squirm, something's got to give. The rust eats that old faded fluorescent sign, and the entranceway is half fallen down. Snow underfoot is as gray as the sky, and flowers are all stuck underground. It's gotta happen soon on Elizabeth Avenue. There's a recipe that Daddy never changed, like those blood red walls and the blotchy stains, and the stink of sausage sticking to your skin. And like college kids start to shuffle in, they plop down on chairs that are older than them. They chew the food and stare into space. In the cashier's booth, it's a thick iron cell. You count the cracks and dream of escape. That's all there is to do on Elizabeth Avenue. I can see it all. I peel off my shirt and I let it fall. Someone's yelling downstairs, I'm watching the street. Let the driver stare as the light turns green. Daddy swears that our fortunes will change if we stick it out for just one more year. But I'm gonna fix up Mom's old Chevrolet, and I'm gonna get the hell out of here. It's gonna happen soon on Elizabeth Avenue. On Elizabeth Avenue. There you go.
Yay!
Thank you. Well, we got there eventually. We
Thank
did get there
you.
eventually.
I mean, I put you on the spot with a song that you had not been ready with for
That
a
was
ukulele, and you did it.
that
That's
was definitely
amazing.
not rehearsed. So yes.
I love it though. I love it,
Thank
and
you.
I mean, I can been down Elizabeth Avenue many a time, and I know that pizza shop. So
Exactly. And I also need to say for legal purposes, that is a fictional story inspired by a real place. I
yes.
have there's not and the narrator of the story has a rather jaundiced view of that intersection and then the people there and then the pizza shop. The actually as I was writing it, I had this idea that I was going to write a song called Elizabeth Avenue, and it was going to be based on a character at that pizza shop. And I'm like, hey, I'll just to get all the details I need for the song, I'll just go there and check it out and see all the different things there. And then it closed, like not just
Oh,
like closed for the night, like it went out of
it's fun.
business. And subsequently, it has opened again.
Oh, good.
I presume under new management and a new everything. So yeah, so do not think that anything in that song, in the narrator's rather not so positive view of the things there, has any reflection on the reality of actually being there. But
Sure.
one of the things that I think is so fascinating about the song I just played versus what you had just played a moment ago, the songwriting style is very different. The sort of the mode that I'm most comfortable in is it's sort of the shorthand is like it's the Bruce Springsteen model, right? It's going to have a lot of like you hope sharply observed details from in telling a very specific story, and that if you and that individual story, something in their story is going to resonate with other people. And
Hmm.
the other end of the spectrum is what I've often heard described as the U2 model of songwriting, which I love,
Yeah.
which you put things out there that are evocative and that obviously have a specific emotional resonance, but there's a lot of interpretation as to what the specific image
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
and what the ideas or what the context is and what it means. And
Yeah.
so the song that you had played was very much, at least my sense was that it was more in that and that a lot of different people could read themselves into that experience. But what's your sense as a songwriter?
Um, I love songs like that where you can put yourself in it, or songs that you can just interpret however you want,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Yeah.
makes it your own. I don't think I'm like the best at them, but that's what I try to aspire to. There have been
Yeah,
many a
yeah.
Coldplay song where I'm like, man, Chris Martin makes it just seem so easy.
Right.
It's really hard to
Right.
write like that sometimes.
Yeah.
It's so simple and it's so good. But yeah, that's definitely the type of lyric that I try to aspire to. Sometimes successfully, sometimes I go a little more
Mm-hmm.
story based.
Yeah.
I think that's where I've gone in the past, and
Mm-hmm.
but I like those kind of vague interpretive lyrics
Yeah.
that you can read into.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
I'm certainly I'm a little more than a little envious of folks who are able to, well, like you just said with Chris Martin and what you can do as well in terms of crafting just words that are so evocative that people can just say, oh right, I know for me exactly what her words or his words mean, which is really
right,
cool. So
right.
yeah, so what's something else that you have under your fingers right now?
Oh man, let's see.
Turnabout is fair play.
Yes. And then let's see. The other one I was thinking of. Well, there's. I don't have a ton of ukulele songs, but we'll see. If we have time, maybe I'll do that one. It's really long, and I wasn't prepared to play it. But we were talking about story songs. I have a song that I call the Steinbeck song,
Okay.
and but anyway, that's kind of a beast. But the one I'll play for you right now.
Yes.
It's well every January, usually every January, at least for the last 10 years or so. I skipped it this past year and I skipped it last year just because stuff. I try to write a song a day
Mm.
for the month of January, and a song loosely meaning a verse and a chorus if I'm lucky,
Okay.
and
All right.
it's just kind of a way to clean out the creative pipes
It
and
is. I mean, it's
I
it's a real discipline.
It is, and normally throughout the year, I'm very much one of those writers that's like, I'm not gonna write anything until I feel it, and the moon and the
I'm
stars have
going to wait.
aligned,
Yes, exactly.
and all that. But I've tried to become a little more disciplined about it because I'm
Hmm.
always pleasantly surprised at what comes out whenever I, really sit down and say, okay, I'm gonna write a song.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So this one came out of it. I call it the ghost love story.
Ooh. Oh, I like
And
that.
yeah, so this is Ghost Love Story.
All right.
When you're betwixt and between, awake and asleep, come find me in your dreams. And the song that you hear is me whispering in your ear. Come find me in your dreams. Catch me if you can. Catch me if you can. Catch me if you can. Can. When you're neither here nor there, and your heavy heart wanders, come find me in your dreams. And I know it's not much, but it's the only way I can touch you. So come find me in your dreams. Catch me if you can. 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 When you're betwixt and between, awake and asleep, come find me in your dreams.
Really nice.
Oh, thank you, man.
That is really nice. So what was the yeah, where was the inspiration for that?
I think that day, you got to get really creative because come like day 14,
Yeah.
you're just like, well,
It's like
I don't know where to go.
bottom
I
of the
think
barrel, right?
it's amazing how quickly you get to the bottom of the barrel too.
Oh,
I
I know
think
that feeling.
I was trying to, I was like, I wonder if I can use the word betwixt in a song,
Ooh.
and that was kind of where it started.
Oh,
When you're
that's good.
betwixt and between.
Oh, I like that.
And so it kind of evolved from there. But I think of, the movie Hook,
Yes.
at the very end where Tinkerbell, you know, Robin Williams is kind of laying on the ground and says, the place where you're in between awake and asleep. She's like, that's where I'll be. And so kind of evolved from that into a ghost, a story, and just thinking about sometimes you dream of the people that you've lost
Right.
or things like
Right.
that, and yeah, so it just kind of took its own little turn
Very
into that.
nice. That's
Yeah,
excellent.
thank you.
Very, very cool.
Thanks.
You mentioned how yeah, you weren't able to do it this past year, and I'm guessing COVID had something to do with that, that they had other things on your mind. That,
Yeah, well, I think 2020. Since it was in January, I was working on demos
Okay.
for the album, and so I was focusing on that. And then this last year,
Right.
there's just a lot going on, so I didn't get to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, there is.
yeah.
So, yeah, one of the things I wanted to ask you about just is what in normal times, and we of course don't really know what normal looks like be going forward, but prior to 2021, what was your approach to gigging, and finding shows and playing things and working on, recordings and how to have that balance or, other things going on in your life?
Right.
So yeah, what was normal for you in terms of gigging and shows? And how has it been, and what are you looking forward to doing as we start to, get out of our houses more?
Yeah. Prior to all that COVID stuff, I was sort of taking a little bit of a break
Mm-hmm.
from the music scene. I'd recently gotten married,
Mm-hmm.
started different jobs and work things, but I was doing a lot of supporting for other people for shows,
Mm.
which I
Yeah.
really liked. I
Yeah.
used to play a lot more with John Hufford and
Mm-hmm.
do harmonies and backup, and I think that was a lot of fun.
It really is fun. It really is
Yeah,
fun to do. Yeah.
it's sometimes so nice just to support somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Let them take
Yeah.
it the stage and do their thing, and you just get to be the one who doesn't have to worry about being on the spotlight.
That's
Um,
true.
but yeah, I love doing open mics. I used to play a little bit over at Steel Stacks from time to
Mm-hmm.
time,
Yeah.
and so that was always a good time, and just little pop up shows here and there. I still like playing out live. I think now, especially since everything's been closed, I probably miss it more, just
Yeah.
because we don't even have the option
Right.
as
Yes.
much. But hopefully with summer coming out, looking forward to seeing and hearing live music out
Yeah.
on outdoors and on the lawn and
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm certainly we're seeing more and more folks in a similar to the way it was like during the summer when, at the point where the science had caught up with us being able to understand, okay, it's, outdoors is probably reasonably safe under
Mhm.
most circumstances, especially if there's, a little bit of distance. And yeah, a lot of people were doing these outdoor shows. And of course, all the restaurants moved tables and stuff outside, and it's and a lot of that ended up going away, of course, while it was really really cold outside, and now we're starting to see some more people, gigging around and doing that sort of thing. I guess part of what I'm curious about is uh, often it ends up being it's not just like, yeah, I wish I had a show, and then you just sit back and wait. Usually
Yeah.
there's a certain element of like, okay, I gotta beat the bushes. If this is something I'm really interested in doing, I'm
Sure.
gonna have to put some effort out there into making it happen, which is something I personally really really struggle with. But so I was wondering, and how that looks for you. If you may be more focused on studio things at this point, but are you looking to sort of get back out there, or if so, what does that look like for you?
I I think I would be open to it. Like you, sometimes my motivation like goes up and down.
Oh yes.
I'm happy to I'm happy to play out when people ask. I haven't been seeking it as often. There was a
Mm-hmm.
time when, I don't know, like a couple of years ago where I was gigging a lot more
Mm-hmm.
and doing a lot of traveling, and a lot of it was by myself. And
Mm-hmm.
as fun as that was, hulking around a
Yeah.
keyboard for someone my
Yeah.
size was a lot of work. And just like, I'm carrying around a giant rectangle by myself everywhere.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to do it anymore. And
Yeah. That makes
um,
sense.
but there are moments I can think of specific shows that I've had,
Sure.
and where you have an audience connection, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, that's the thing that pulls you back, though. It's
Yeah.
great to be able to
Yeah.
be out there,
Absolutely.
and it's such an honor and privilege to share music. So, yeah, I mean, I'd definitely be more interested in gigging once we can do that
So
more.
people should definitely reach out to you. They should go to the website. They should
Sure.
they should click on the buttons
Absolutely.
and follow you on the socials and send you messages and say, hey,
Yes,
Kim, we
yes.
would love to have you at our event or at our venue and all of those things.
Yes, yeah, I would
Absolutely.
love it. Hmm.
Awesome. Well, that's very cool. Oh, you know what? We said we were going to spend at least a few minutes talking about the fact that you're currently in San Francisco.
Oh,
What?
yes. As
What-
you can tell, this
Yes.
beautiful bay view behind me.
Did
No, yeah.
did you have other contenders for because and I can't speak, obviously not everyone else has not seen the actual room that's behind you.
Oh, sure.
But I thought it looked great, especially I said compared to my room. But were there other contenders in terms of where you thought you might be joining us from this evening?
I think
Tom?
there were blades of grass that a good work, or just a very blurry background of my room, also a contender. But I thought, yeah, the sunset looks nice. Looks
Sunset, I guess, yes. Sunset is good for this time of day when we're sharing this out to people. So that works nicely.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, during the webcast we did the other week for the Come Together project, Dana Gaynor was coming in from what was it, the moon, from outer space, and
Oh yeah.
Tom Cooney has joined us on the Speakeasy webcast before, from space and things like that. So it's always interesting to see where people will be
Right. Where people come
coming
from.
from.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh
For
boy.
sure. I decided that San Francisco is probably a much prettier scene than the bedroom.
I think your bedroom looks lovely, having only seen it through the Zoom. But
Through
yes, I think you and your husband do a wonderful job with that. Um, that's the other thing I was going to ask about in terms of webcasts. And I don't know if you've met Pentley Holmes, but it's a conversation when I had him on as a guest a little while ago. I was saying, hey, how do you feel about webcasts? And he's like, I really don't care for it. I really am not interested, which is fine. I think
Did he
it's
say
and
that
and
while he was
because
on a webcast?
what's that?
Did he say that while he was on the
Oh
webcast?
yeah. Oh yes. And that's fine. That's fine. Honesty. I appreciate that. Honest exchange of ideas. It was Penley Holmes and Dan DeCellis that night, and the two of them just hit it off. And I barely did anything, and just the two of them kept going back and forth, which was wonderful. But so what's been your experience with the whole webcast thing? Because we've all had to train ourselves in how to perform in a different medium. But what's that experience been for you?
I haven't done a ton of them, but I would say that yours has definitely been the smoothest. And I mean,
Well,
it's
thank you.
hard. It's so hard. I mean, we had issues with my AirPods right before we got on here, which it was working fine, and then
Yep.
I went to get my cup of tea and came back, and they magically stopped working. So, I'm so grateful that we have Zoom. We have things, especially in the
Yeah.
midst of the pandemic, to keep in touch. But we can put on these shows. It's still a great way to connect. I mean, technology
Yeah.
is technology. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But
Hmm.
honestly, I think this has been a fantastic outlet to be able to still.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I've said this multiple times, and I may have even said it on the show before, that one of the things that I keep coming back to is I'm inspired by so many people sort of saying, okay, this is the hand we've been dealt. This is our circumstance. And so whether you're a concert venue or you're a performer or you're a theater outfit or whatever, like, okay, what can we do to continue to make art and to continue to connect with audiences
Hmm.
using what we have in spite of all the limitations that are in front of us?
Right.
And in a lot of cases people end up making something that's completely new and different and unlike anything else they've known how to do before in the past, and I think it's so cool to see that how people are able to do those different kinds of things. So, and I
Absolutely.
appreciate you being willing to take a risk and try out something a little bit different for you too.
Well, thank you. No, it's been an honor and a pleasure getting to chat and just hang out. I mean, this is so much fun.
How often do any of us get to have like social interaction
This
these
is true.
days? It's kind of limited, so I do appreciate that you. Then I respect you so much as a musician, as a songwriter, and I'm
Same.
very grateful that you were able to be here and be part of this tonight.
Thank you, and thank you again, Mike, for being a champ and able to pick up your song on the ukulele on the fly with no heads up beforehand.
It's well, and I'm never good about plugging my other webcast, but the one I do on Tuesday afternoons at 12:30 in the afternoon on the Not For Coltrane YouTube page, so youtube.com/Not For Coltrane. The whole show is about me being unprepared for challenges that people are going to throw at me. We play the Not For Coltrane Stump the Band game, and I won't go into the whole details about that, but there's the whole premise of the show is that people are throwing stuff at me that I can't possibly anticipate in advance, and I just have to run with it. Um,
That's
and
awesome.
I think there's a certain element of that I think is maybe a little bit similar to what you're talking about with that daily songwriting challenge, in that
Mm,
it's the sort of thing that from the outset, like, it just seems impossible, and
right.
yet there's some aspect of that discipline of like, okay, I'm gonna have to put myself out there in a certain way, or like you as a songwriter, you're gonna have to put yourself out there and come up with something, it's gonna
Mhm.
form at least a verse and a chorus, And
Yeah.
and there's a real value in that.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's something about exercising that creative muscle that is so good and healthy, and sometimes you have to work it out and get through all the meh stuff to get to the gold, but it's worth it. It's worth it when it happens.
Yeah, and that even sometimes the mess stuff is also ends up being important, and may itself have the seed of something else which will blossom later on.
That's right.
I can use metaphors because I'm a songwriter. That's
Exactly.
Kim. Thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it,
Thank
and I
you.
hope there are lots of opportunities to see you in person real soon.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kim. All right, and that is the show. Thank you to everyone who was able to watch us live. Thank you for everyone who is able to watch the replay. And also, I mean, you always want to stay tuned to see what's happening here on Rock in the Valley because there are always wonderful performers, much like Kim, and wonderful hosts who are doing cool things and exploration of music, especially music here in Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley. So thank you very much for joining us for Rock in the Valley's Cyber Speakeasy, now part of Stories and Song with Mike and Tom, coming up in this space next week. Well, not physically here, but happening on YouTube at the 7 o'clock hour on Rock in the Valley. And so check out all the Rock in the Valley social media for that. It will be Tom Cooney's Songwriters Alive. We're going to see what's happening next week with Tom Cooney next week at 7 o'clock here on Rock in the Valley. So please check that out and stay tuned for all the other cool things that Rock in the Valley has going on this evening. Until then, my name is Mike. I am Not For Coltrane. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We'll look forward to seeing you again next time. And until then, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other. See you then.